you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited about this conversation with this magnificent woman that's right here with me today. She was the perfect pick for this type of conversation. Um, Welcome to our show, Shoot the Shh. So, today, our live discussion is centered around a very serious topic whether or not security at grade schools should be able to have a loaded firearm as a form of defense against any threat that may come against those kids or the staff at the schools. So, we're going to dive into this, on the surface and underneath to make sure we have some good insight on this information. We have expertise from Miss Ashley of her personal experiences to come in with that. And we do have some information about this case that happened in Georgia just a few days ago with what they consider to be a mass shooting. I'm saying that because my fans, my viewers know a mass shooting is 4 people or more. And I'm saying it that way only because mass doesn't sound like four to most people. Mass usually sounds like a whole lot more. But here we've been educated to understand that mass shooting is described to be four victims or more. And so while our hearts go out to all of the victims in this situation, uh, if someone has any connection to any of those who have lost their lives or who was injured, please, our prayers are with you. And I wish all the best for your family in their grieving process for what has happened. So, just to give you a little more understanding about this particular segment here, all of the things that we discuss in our lives are going to be as real as possible without making it political. Okay, we do invite any input in the comment section. As a matter of fact, if you guys can hear me okay, please give me a thumbs up, a wave high, or something to let me know that you guys can hear and see us okay. Um, but we do invite you guys to comment as we are making statements and ask questions. We'd love to have your input. This would be more of a community discussion on this matter. And we just want to make sure we maintain respect, regardless of what someone is saying. We understand that people are not going to agree with everything, and that is totally okay. I'm okay with that. But we do have to maintain respect. So, again, if you can put in the chat box area, if you can hear us, a thumbs up, a wave high, that would be great before we jump into this thing fully. Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate it. So, without further ado, Miss Ashley Anderson is joining us today. And thank you so much for joining.
I appreciate you having me.
No problem, no problem. So, if you can give me a little bit of backdrop information on your career path.
So, within my career, I've been involved with security all the way around, and security involves loss prevention and asset protection. Most people assume that that is just theft, and it's not theft. It's loss all the way around. So that's incidentals as far as workplace accidents or even customer accidents. That was on base as well. I've worked on several military bases. I've worked for several different public schools and DC public charter schools. I worked in Fairfax County. I currently work for DC Public Charter. And I've also worked as a campus police officer.
Awesome, awesome. So, with this insight that you also are a mom and you
Yeah,
have kids in the school system yourself. So, you very well understand the inside and the outside of this as far as what your views are and how you feel. So, we'll keep that little last part to the very end, probably about whether or not you're for or against having armed guns for the guards. But in the meantime, I just want to say that I really appreciate you joining us because we've known each other for just a short while, but through the time of me speaking with you, you seem very passionate about your job. You do
yes,
what I feel is a great job, even though I'm not there with you daily. But what I've seen and heard of you, it seems like you guys at your school are communicating with the kids and the parents and the staff and creating so much more of a community base
yes,
understanding or communication with each other. And I personally love that. And I also love the fact that your staff does tend to do trainings to be able to keep the staff educated about what's best practices to be able to protect those kids and the staff there. So, can you tell me a little bit about the type of trainings in which you guys do regularly?
Yes. So, okay, the school that I'm currently at, I'm the supervisor of security. What we do is we like to train our staff based on the times that are changing. So, for example, before anybody walk into a school, you take their name, they go to the main office. Now, because there's a lot of entitlement with a lot of people, parents, different things, you can't just let people walk in the building anymore. So, some of the things that we train on at my particular school is when you enter our building, anyone that enters, we have signs that are posted. We stop everything as far as lighters, knives, anything that can be considered some form of weapon, even down to a rat tail cone. It can be used as a weapon, unfortunately. When you come in, we have a new system. It's not your plain metal detector. It's called the Evolve system. With the Evolve system, it
One
takes a
one second. I'm not
uh-huh.
sure. You said that I'm
Oh, it
seeing
says it has
global dot.
automatic.
Yeah, there's a mic sound
All right.
issue. Okay. So let's see if we can get that a little bit better before we continue to make sure that they can hear you good.
Does it
Okay.
sound?
I
Is it still
think that does. I think it does actually.
okay? It may have been because I had my charger in.
Okay.
Okay,
All
that's
right. But yeah,
better.
to me that does sound better. How is that? Is she better now? Just curious because I don't want you to be giving all this good information and they can't hear. All right, so we'll continue with what you're saying about what system is it?
It's called Evolve. So with the Evolve system, what it does is when you walk through it, it takes a photo of your entire body. If you have any form of metal on you or certain type of metal, it makes the determination and you're to be stopped and it pinpoints where on your body that metal is located.
Oh wow,
So,
oh wow.
or even certain shapes on your body. So when you walk
Mhm.
through, if you have one under your shirt, whether it be metal, plastic, like how they're doing the 3D print guns these days, it'll pinpoint exactly where it is on your body and it will flash red on a device. It's like an iPad, and it will show us where to search your body at. So we
Wow,
training on that. We also train our officers how to properly pat down to be able to make determination of where someone may be hiding something. Because
hmm,
again, without it being because it's a high school, you don't want it to come off in a inappropriate way. You're
right.
taught back of your hands, pat down properly. You have male on male, female on female. Once you cross through that, your bags go through a metal detector. I mean, an X-ray machine. I'm sorry. Uh, Properly teach everybody how to use the X-ray machine, how to read the photos because it's not necessarily a clear picture, but you learn how to read the machine based off the shape and the size and the way the items look. We also teach TAC2 training, which is the proper way to take down a person without using deadly force.
Wow,
And then we've just recently taken the gun retention class, which is how to properly disarm someone who has a fire.
yeah.
And we're still looking at other ways to train our staff without having to actually have guns within the building.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm really, really happy that your team takes the time to get this training and it seems like you're implementing it as well. So, how does that work with the gosh, how do I want to say this? I don't want to say anything negative amongst people, period. I'm
Right.
just curious, does these trainings that you guys go and seek to get, do they ever get any kind of like pushback on administrative to say, oh no, you guys don't need that. That's not necessary. Maybe funding problems or whatnot.
So because it's a public charter, our charter is a little bit different than what public schools run. Your
Hmm.
charter school runs on its own and whatever it is because Our school is one of the few schools that actually has in-house security.
Mhm.
Everyone else in DC Public, they use outside service. And with those outside services, you have a certain amount of insurance that you can use. So that's why when people question why there aren't guns, like certain officers that carry guns, or why, if police are in the schools, why they can't step in, because you have to have an insurance that covers that person in case of an
Mhm.
incident.
That makes sense.
And a
That makes.
lot of schools cannot afford that incidental. So our school actually looks into it, but because you have to pay a certain amount of insurance for each officer that
Mhm.
is carrying, and it's a lot of money. Uh,
Right.
so we don't actually get a lot of pushback just because of the type of students that we do have at our school.
Mhm.
A lot of our students do leave the jail and come back to return to our school. And
Mhm.
so with that being one of the things we have going on, um, they don't really argue it with us.
That's good.
I
That's
think
really good.
the main argument that we did have was when it came to the Tech 2 training. We had not just security learn how to do it, but our entire staff. And when the entire staff learned how to do it, they didn't want to be the hands on because they felt like
Mhm.
a security job. But they have to understand that if security is not in the way, are you going to save yourself, or are you just going to wait until someone comes to get
Right. Right. Hmm. That's interesting. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, the thing is, with being security in any field, anywhere, any area, uh, it doesn't matter with kids or not. It's just a risky job altogether.
you?
And
Right.
as I was stating to you previously, when our regular conversations was, it's kind of like damn if you do, damn if you don't. You guys are kind of like one of you kind of looked at as the bad guys or bad girls if you don't do certain things. But then if you do certain things, then you're also ridiculed. I know one of the things you and I were talking about was this ban on cell phones and how that has been reflective negatively in the community. Can you tell me, the pros and the cons about this cell phone ban for schools?
Yes. So this is coming from two different aspects of working with the school that allowed phones and one that didn't. I previously worked in Fairfax County, and so the protocol there is all the students can drive themselves to school. So you have an unsecured parking lot. They can get on the bus. Anybody can show up to the school, and you just walk in the doors. I understand that Fairfax is attempting to ban cell phones now.
They
Um,
have, as far as
and
I know
so,
of, they have, yes.
and I think they have until January to completely have it,
Mhm.
that all schools have to follow that same protocol.
Yeah, the
And,
whole Virginia, as far as I'm understanding, is supposed to be under that protocol, but I believe Fairfax County has already implemented it this year.
and so one of my previous schools before I worked at my current one, they have a cell phone ban. Once you go through the metal, so when you enter the school, you have a cell phone locker. You're responsible for putting your phone in your locker. Once your phone is in the locker, you come through the metal detector. If you beep, you have to keep going through until you don't beep at all.
Mm.
And so the reason why it worked out well is because in the city that we work in, there's a metro station directly across the street.
1 second. It's saying that your mic is not working good. Does she have a mic on? Okay. All right. So I'm wondering. I'm assuming it's your mic when he says she. Um,
I think so.
oh, that
Uh,
sounds better. I don't know if you need a moment to kind of work on that. I can talk for a minute.
does it sound better now?
I think so. Michael, I'm gonna need you to let me know. Does that sound better? Because to me it does. I feel like it does when you said that.
Okay.
Okay.
I
So
think I
Michael, I'm gonna need you to speak up.
tuned down, so maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, to me that definitely sounds better. But okay. I don't know how I'm supposed to test it, trouble, but it definitely sounds better to me. Y'all are gonna have to let me know. Does it sound better to y'all? Okay. Then he needs you to
Okay.
keep talking.
Does it sound better now? Okay. So with the current school that I'm at, the first year that they are running removing cell phones, and I personally think it's best because the issue that we were running into was when students would have altercation, fights, and other things happen. they would get on their cell phones and call people to the school. And
Mm.
so that would cause other incidents to happen. We've had it where students were fighting in the classroom, they recorded it, showed other people, family members were at the school trying to get into the building. And they would stay outside the building until they were released or that it was time to go. We've
Right.
There someone's called someone to the school, the students ran out the school because we don't have a parking lot and we can't control the actual area of our school because most DC schools are in neighborhoods. A
Hmm.
student has ran to go get a gun and chase the students and their family down around the school.
Wow.
So the phone thing, in reality, it's like, well, how do I get in contact with my child if I really need to talk to them, if I really need to speak with them? But
Mhm.
people have to understand this school has a protocol for that. Every classroom has has a phone. The main office has a phone. All the numbers are provided. If
Yeah.
your child really needs to contact you, they can go through the proper protocol to be able to reach you.
Yeah.
But people don't understand that when more people are added, it now becomes a liability. Now I have to not only protect the ones in the building, I have to also focus on protecting the ones outside of the building as well.
Right. Wow. That definitely seems like it makes your job extremely hard. I mean, and me being a parent, learning that my kids' school decided to ban the cell phone use as well. um, it really made me and my husband really think about that. Like, for me, I was more thinking about educational point of view. The fact that the phone can be a distraction from them actually learning. But then my husband was more so focused on the safety. He thought, well, what if there is an emergency, such as what happened in Georgia with that
Right.
school, that shooting happening. If something like that would happen at our kids' school and they weren't able to call us, and I'm like, well, hopefully the school will do a good job at informing us, which our kids' school does do well with sending a text message and sending an email. Um, I'm really susceptible, and a phone call. They'll do all three forms
Right.
of communication. So hopefully, in an emergency situation like that, there will be something sent out too. Um, but it's worrisome to believe that that system will not have any cracks in it, given the gratitude, the gravity of the situation, rather. um, but I can see how overall, for safety purposes, to make one decision for all, that might be the best option.
And so I just read a comment that said I can't risk it. I'm sorry my kids will have their phone. So
Hmm.
I think that the question needs to be, okay, so if the students are removing the phones, now what procedures are we adding to help assist with the safety?
Right.
Versus saying, oh, I'm just just the building.
Right. Right. Wow.
They don't have any type of procedure. Like
Hmm.
doors are locked, or for example, in my old school when I worked in Herndon, you can just walk into students, they had access to the side doors of the building. They could walk out. There weren't cameras. Or if there was a camera, it was only in the one department. Only one person had access to the cameras. The students had access to the football field. They had trailers outside of the school. So it kind of gave them so much more free access.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're at is in the middle of a neighborhood that I'm currently at is in
Yeah.
are in school. We have no jurisdiction over the sidewalk. The sidewalk literally, I can't ban anyone from being on the sidewalk.
And the sad truth
People
about it is the kids know this.
exactly. They
They
know
so
that.
smart.
It, the students will park their car on the street with the weapons in the car. But again, and they tell us that's the thing. It's not something that we don't know. It's not something that's not understood.
Hmm.
But again, the protocol then has to change from I understand you want the phone, but the phone still won't stop what's going to happen on the inside of the building.
Right. Wow.
And sometimes,
I
for
think
example,
the sound might be just a little muzzled again. I'm so
oh,
sorry. Do you want
oh,
to take a moment to get something to prop it up on or something?
yes. Let me. I was going to
Okay.
say, I gotta
All right,
switch.
that's fine. You could
Okay.
just like stop your camera for a second and and mute. Can you do that? And that way you can move around as you please. There should be like a button on the side that looks like a mic. You should be able to press that and it'll mute you. And there's a camera you can
It
press.
it it didn't have the camera button. It just has the mic button. I
Okay.
have to completely exit out. Is it better now though?
It is, but I
Oh,
don't know if you can you hold that position for a while
yeah.
or you need to
I
prop it
just
up with
keep it right
something?
there. I'm
Okay. All right. So what
right.
my concern is though with the like you said, if we are trying to I just had a thought process. When you said something about what protocols need to be set in place to ensure that the rule is being followed, it makes me think about life as an adult. How we live life not trusting the system and
Right.
this behavior that parents and I have some parents here that are saying my kids gonna have to have their phone or they got to wear the Apple Watch because I just don't feel safe. Basically they don't feel guaranteed that the system will be in their best interest, and it's really sad and unfortunate that we cannot rely on the system as a people and as a whole. Even
Right.
myself, I'm like, okay, well, my kids need to have their phone. They need to just put it. I'm in the same boat as them. I hear you guys. I agree with you. But at the same token, now hearing it from this perspective, I'm almost feeling guilty. Like, no, they got to follow the rules. The rules set in place for a reason. You know. And so it sounds like. I mean, I even had this same problem. I used to work uh, on a military base in a child
Mhm.
care facility and they
Right.
decided that they needed us to lock our phones away. When we got new management, the new management got lockers installed for us to lock our cell phones up, and we were only able to get them on our lunch break or when we got off work. And with that being said, here comes the Apple Watch thought process, and I got to check on my kids, and my husband. I got to do this, and I felt the same way, probably like those kids felt. um, yeah, didn't want to
And so,
follow those rules.
like what you just said, I think a lot of it more so is it. I think a lot of the times we make it a personal security. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily that um those people will need us at all those times, because if you think about it, how often do they really call you from the
Right.
school? How often do they reach out? It's just that personal, like, well, I want to make sure that I'm there. I don't want
Hmm.
you to take that away from me. So I think sometimes it's just like we don't want to relinquish that control and have to rely on someone else having to tell us what to do in an emergency situation, or so it's like you feel like you have no control.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. I think you hit that right on the nail. Like we have James was saying that he respects all teachers and he lives an hour away from where he works. And the thing is, just knowing that his kids got off the bus and etc. Like I hear you on that. Gotta have that sound communication between each other. So definitely I can see how something like that would be an issue for sure.
And so, but that's the thing. The schools aren't saying don't have your phone. They understand we're in the age of technology.
Hmm.
They're just saying that the phones have become more of a hurt than a help.
Hmm.
And so, yes, you do have those kids that make sure they put their phone away. They're not on it throughout the day. But
Hmm.
then it's just like with anything else. One person ruin it for everybody.
That's
Now the only solution is nobody can have it.
yeah, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. So I know we also talked about oh, somebody said that no schools. Some
Nope.
schools are actually saying no phones.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, in that case, I hope that now you guys having a different perspective than being a parent only, because Miss
Right.
Anderson is a parent as well as a security staff member. She's giving you both sides, like in the fact of there's a system has come up with this way because of a certain reason, and depending on where you live, it's more of a risk for the overall students to be able to have a phone. Like honestly, the school system that my kids are going to, I wasn't thinking about none of what you said about the phone.
Right.
Nothing. I wasn't even thinking, wasn't even worried about that. But when I think about it, I'm like, wow, okay. I actually come from, the area in which you are working and I understand. I can actually gravitate to that. I remember going to high school feeling unsafe.
Right.
I felt unsafe. Although we had to walk through metal detectors, although we had security staff there, I honestly felt unsafe. And it's like, realistically, I don't think my kids are having that same experience. And I'm really happy that they're not, but that's the reality of some people now. I mean, some kids are going through that. They have that sense of not feeling safe. And that's our number one thing as a human being. We want to feel safe. And
Right.
so this is really important for us to come on one situation, one decision for everybody that's going to work and keep everybody safe. Oh
Right.
man. Somebody said my kid about to wear a body cam. I hear you on that. That makes a lot of sense.
Maybe like
Yeah,
a little,
you're right.
you know how your Ring camera is, you can watch it from home and see everything that's going on.
Yes, yes, definitely. And it's one of those things like realistically, it makes me think and wonder about the child care facilities that has cameras in the classroom and the parents are able to access it throughout the day to see it. I wonder if something like that would be beneficial to schools. What do you think about
So
that?
that's actually come up as one of the new security measures within our school. But again, parents, I don't know how to really word this. Parents want to see what's going on, but then just imagine you have too many chefs in the pot. The meal doesn't come out right. So now
Mhm.
that everybody is seeing what's going on, because it may not be anything actually going on or happening, but every parent has different perspectives on how they feel their child should be talked to, dealt with, different things like that. And
Exactly.
so now it's creating more issues.
Wow.
And
Is
because
there is there audio and visual or just visual?
So, for our camera system, we don't have audio. We have
Mhm.
visual only. And
Mhm.
even with visual, we're not allowed, if there's like an incident, there's fights or different things, we don't show that to the parent. And
Mhm.
they have to go through the legal system to get it because, again, a parent may argue something is considered too much force,
Right.
but they don't understand the risk of what their child is doing in that moment.
Yeah. I
They
mean,
again, as a parent, what's your only thing? "Oh, you're hurting my child." Even though
right.
your child has been running through the hallways, throwing stuff, kicking, they done threatened somebody, they done bit somebody. It's,
Mhm.
"Oh, you're holding my child down." That's all you see as a parent.
Right. Right. So DMV renovations said you. So are you a parent? Really, what would you do?
I am a parent. I actually have, 2 middle school girls and an elementary school, son, and I'm getting ready to be a parent again. I'm actually due any day now. And so both of my children, well, all three of my children, they go to one goes to DC Public Charter, and the other two go to DC Public, and they have very different systems because again, DC Public Charter runs their own security type of measures. One of
Mhm.
their schools has no security officers at all, but their security measures are parents are not allowed to enter the building. There are certain pickup procedures. They separate the grade levels and where you pick your child up. You are not allowed to enter the building. You just walk up to the building and they have someone with a walkie talkie. You give them your child's name, your child comes out the door. That's
Mhm.
their protocol. Parents cannot enter. Parents can't, on the first day of school, I know we all want to walk our child to the classroom, everything like.
Mm. Well, DMV renovations did say congratulations, and yes, as you see, we had that other question pop in. Um, so yeah, I want to touch back on what you said first though about the no open containers and packages. Because I thought that was interesting. That's a safety measure I never considered either. And being, given the certain demographic, the certain area, you have other concerns, and I mean I feel like all schools probably have some kind of drugs in it. Kids do drugs, okay?
Mhm.
They do. But the fact
So
that you guys that school took that safety measure to say no open packages and water bottles or anything because we want to make sure ain't no kids thinking no edibles in here.
So I can give examples of this. When I worked in Fairfax, again, students can walk straight in the building. There's no security checks. There's no measures. They'll go in the bathroom. They'll sell drugs. They'll get high, and so it becomes a now we have to go catch the problem.
Mm, yeah, right. The sad part about it is again is damn if you damn if you don't because realistically now we're talking about with this drug type situation then it's a matter of what did the school do to prevent this, what did y'all staff do to prevent
And
this, like and
that's
it's
what
like
happened.
and if you don't do anything it's oh gosh it's so frustrating, oh
And
goodness.
so, and again, like my current school, you can bring your snacks. We have a store right around the corner. The kids stop at that store. But when
Hmm.
you put your bag on the belt, we have to check your snacks. We have to make sure it's the original seal, make sure it's unopened. We encourage the students, do not open your drink before you walk through the building. Do not
Hmm.
bring a glass bottle. A glass bottle is something that is now a weapon. Do
Right.
not open your snacks until once you pass the threshold.
Hmm.
In reality, people think, oh, well, that's not fair. That's too many rules. That's too strict. I got to eat. Okay, so if the store is 5 minutes away from the school and you got to eat, once you walk through the door, you can eat within that 5 minutes. I see he's saying school is a modern day jail, but
Yes.
I hear what you're saying. It sounds that way. It do.
Do you have any
Oh,
thoughts?
we get contraband every day.
Wow.
Um, my last year, first day of school, freshman came in. Bag of Cheez-Its, she had edibles inside the Cheez-Its. She resealed the package. It when we checked it, I picked up the bag and I'm like, this doesn't feel like Cheez-Its. It feels dense. It's solid. Open it up, it's an edible Rice Krispie.
Wow. Wow.
Pour alcohol in it and then close it back up.
Wow. Wow.
And then what happens is when all these things get into the school, the first thing the parent is saying is, well, where was security when it happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
But in reality, how can we, if you're asking us not to stop it before and you want us to come when it happens, by then your child could have already been overdosed and dead by now. And
Exactly.
I've walked in the bathroom on students who have overdosed and we had to bring them back. That's why we had to take last year, our entire security team had to take Narcan training.
Mm.
And with our AED machines, they have to be within 1 minute of every location in the school. We now have Narcan located in our AED machine, the boxes that hold them.
Wow. I'm
So it's
really,
kind
really
of like
proud of this school and how they are operating to be preventative. This is honestly the biggest discussion around everything, but really around firearms, just being preventative. So, one of the things that one of the viewers made a comment about is what is your stance on teachers having guns? Because there is some discussion about those type of things. What do you feel about that?
I personally, I don't believe teachers need guns. And I
Okay.
understand everybody saying, well, they somebody needs to help this, they need to help that. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, again, too many chefs with their hands in the pot, something is going to go wrong.
Yeah. I
Because
agree with that.
one of the things that we do have, again, at our school, every staff member is TAC 2 trained. And TAC 2 training is basically a training that we take, and we take it yearly. Our school provides it yearly to properly take down a student who is having a breakdown, um, different if they're attacking another student in the middle of a fight. This is how you take the student down without causing injury to them or yourself. And
Mhm.
so, even with that, we have teachers who, in the moment, you freak out and you're just trying to grab them and get them off,
Right.
and you can cause injury to yourself or somebody else. So imagine if every teacher has a gun, and nobody knows when to take lead. So you're just like, well, let me hurry up and shoot them. No, let me hurry up and shoot them. Now you done shot somebody else because everybody is trying to be the captain of who's going to shoot the student or take
Right.
the person down, and we don't have any direction.
Mhm. That's a valid point. It's definitely a valid point. You definitely helped me be more on one particular side of that answer because I've always kind of been in the middle about it. But you
Right,
gave me a whole perspective that I'm like, clearly, this is definitely the decision I'm on here. Is
right,
against it because it definitely opens up for too many more possibilities, too many more mistakes. And so we need the guns, if there is guns in the school, to be in the hands of the people who are properly trained, who understands how to assess the situation and make a more educated decision about how and when to use it, instead of somebody who may be more in panic because
right.
that's not their subject, matter where they're an expert at,
Mhm.
So I can totally see how that might be not so much of a good idea. And so I'll be interested to explore that conversation a little bit more at another time, though, too, to see some other points of views about that too.
And
Yeah.
I think that another reason I'm saying no guns is because it also becomes a liability on yourself. If you
Hmm.
have the gun and you're trying to teach and a student takes the gun from you, now you're the trained one, they're the untrained one, they have the gun. What are you supposed to do?
Right, right.
So
And
that's
that always was one of my arguments there. I feel the same way about that. And so that definitely is an issue right there.
this.
So what I would like to say though, in the meantime, right now, if you guys are on here, you're really liking the content, please take the time to go ahead and like this video so others can see that it's worthwhile of a conversation and we'll get more views on this matter. So we're going into our next part of our discussion here when we talked about doing training with the staff, and I know at your school you guys were considering doing armed security officers or not, uh, has there been any talk about the confidence in which an officer would actually have in having a firearm on them? Do you feel that in general the trained officers might have a little bit more confidence about wearing a firearm, being in the presence of students, or you feel like a lot of them may still be a little bit leery about that idea?
So I believe that a lot of staff, it doesn't matter. Oh, okay. So I'm reading the comment as well. I'm sorry. It says talkers teachers would have no training. I hear what you're saying about the training, but when you're in a situation, training goes out the door,
Mhm.
especially when your day to day isn't focusing on safety. You have to remember a teacher, and same with the security. Your day to day activity is to teach the kids, to reach out to the kids, to
Mhm.
make sure that have the students feel comfortable. And
Right.
I understand what people are trying to say, like, oh well, it's the safety is this, but at the same time, you still want the students to be comfortable themselves.
Right.
How comfortable are you in reality? Are you really comfortable when police are around you with a gun? And they're supposed to have training. When
Mhm.
they pull you over and they walk up to you and they got a gun on their waist, you don't get nervous sometimes. You don't be like, oh God, I hope this ain't the day that they're going to shoot me.
Yeah.
I don't want to make the wrong move in the car. Like, even me in the car with my children, I've experienced where I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, they about to pull me over for speeding. And I'm like, all right, everybody don't move.
Right.
But I know they have the training. So why I do want to keep the kids safe, but I don't want them to feel unsafe at the same time.
That's a valid point. That's a valid
And
point.
even with the student, like with our security team being properly trained, I believe that you know what? I can't even really answer that question because everybody has a different mindset and different
Mhm.
thought process. It's
Right.
not a one size fits all type situation when it comes to carrying a
Mhm.
firearm either. Even though we assume, just like you have cops, some cops don't even think twice about grabbing their gun. They are quick to just, take down the person. But then you have some that are quick to throw their hands on a gun because they feel like I need to hurry up and overpower this person before they can overpower me.
Yeah.
So honestly, I don't think the confidence level in either way, because we all have different mindsets and we've all have different experiences. So it
Hmm.
kind of,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I
yeah.
mean, I can see how going into that, it would be different from one person to another, very much so. Thank you, DMV Renovations, for the shout out for Trouble Defense. Yes, you can go to Trouble Defense to get some training, which their school actually already has taken advantage of having some training with Trouble Defense, and that's how we actually met. So realistically, I know in the training that we did with your guy with your school, it was it was an eye opener for me. It was an eye opener to know that there is a concern of students bringing a gun to school. So that brings a whole nother dynamic to this conversation today. We're always considering the thought process of an intruder coming in, but realistically, it could be a student, like in the case in Georgia, it was a student that brought a firearm to school. And so when those situations happen, I can confidently say that your staff is greatly trained on how to de escalate that situation, how to disarm the student with having that firearm. How do you feel about that type of training that we did with you guys to de-arm a student? How do you feel about that being incorporated into schools?
So again, that's how, like you said, that's how we met. And the reason why I chose to do that training was because that's exactly what happened to us. We had a student who had a grievance with another student, and they were coming to do damage to that specific student. They came through our metal detector, they came into the building. We knew how to do our TAC 2 training, which was to keep her hands away from that weapon, but we didn't know how to personally remove it from her in a safe manner. As you all know, we just heard about the DC cop who just killed himself retrieving a weapon from a gutter. Did you hear that story?
Not
Yes.
at all.
So there was actually a DC cop who just killed himself. He was chasing a suspect through the weapon, I think down like a sewer drain. He went down there to retrieve the weapon and it shot him and killed him.
Wow. Wow.
So my concern after, again, like I stated earlier in the live, that we train based on the changing times.
Hmm.
So we've always trained on how to identify the weapon, but we never trained on how to remove the weapon.
Hmm.
So because we had the TAC 2 training, we were able to hold the student in a particular way that they were not able to move and they weren't able to reach for that weapon. So
Right.
now the next thing was, okay, we done identified the weapon on the body because we know how to use the metal detector. We have now learned how to disable this person from attacking or being able to access the weapon. So the next thing was, okay, I need to implement, how do we properly remove the weapon from them and disarm the weapon and get it out the way of that person.
Right.
That's why we contacted you and reached out to you all, because we wanted to make sure that our team, whenever we have to remove a weapon from a student, if that ever happens again, I hope it never does, that once we
Right.
get it off their person, we can take it to a secure location and disarm the entire weapon so it's not going to go off by accident. It's not going to do anything. And we can have proper gun safety.
Right. Yeah. And that made a lot of sense. So just taking it a step further to not only disarm the student, but disarm the firearm and
Yes.
make sure that it is locked and stored away safely until the police arrives to actually get it was another key opponent piece to this. And the fact that I know you guys are doing continuous training on this matter, that you pair up and you guys do training on this. We left dummy guns for you guys to be able to do this training. And so doing that, because practice makes permanent, is one of those things where the repetition on something, you'll just be better and better at it. You'll be able to act on it quickly and things of that nature. So I think that really goes a long way. Um, but just thinking about also, I'm curious, has the school considered consulting the parents on a matter on whether or not the guards security guards should have have firearms? And if so, has parents kind of weighed in, yes or no on that, or you're not sure?
Again, our parents feel like they shouldn't have it because it's always, well, y'all shouldn't have that because y'all not the police.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, okay, well, let's get a police in here. It's supposed to be school. Why you need police? Because it's jail. It's like the goalpost changes every time there's a recommendation or there's a incident to change. Again, we got pushback when it came to patting down students when they come in.
Mm,
Because again, the students, what they do is you take away one thing. Now I need to up you and figure out what's the next way I can get it in. So for example, if I normally carry a knife in my purse and I know you're going to check my purse, I'm going to hide it in my bra today.
right,
So now it becomes, oh, well, that's not my bra going off. That's just the underwire in it. Okay, so
right.
I hit and pat down to confirm that that's the underwire and not
Mhm.
something else. I was just reading the comment. It says, what happens if one of your officers fight a student? Well, if our officer fights a student, this is where the officer has to be responsible. Again, this is where we're TAC 2 trained. We have m- specific ways that we're supposed to take down a student. And if an officer fights a student, that officer is reprimanded because we shouldn't be fighting students.
Right.
In that position, we are the ones in authority. So we're supposed to be able to manage our emotions and the way that we respond.
And I love one of the things I loved about your team is the fact that you guys consider mental health and behaviors from, like, for example, one of the things we talked about in you guys training is that you're checking your own emotions before walking in the building as a personal, as a bodyguard, I mean, as
Yep.
a school guard, sorry.
Right.
So that was a key thing, because a lot of us don't check our attitudes at the door before we walk into work, but you guys do. You have a
Yes.
system that you constantly are doing that, and if you're not all right, you give each other little moments time to kind of deal with that to get back into to focus. And then the other thing is you are assessing the mental health and wellness of those students as they're coming in. So you're getting a good rapport with them as they come in the door every morning. Hey, how you doing today, John? How you doing, Sarah? And you just having those conversations with them, you're gaining trust between each other. So you guys are not like the wardens of the prison there to them. You're like that's auntie right there. That's uncle right there. That's cousin right there.
So, like you said, the way that we start our day is, and one thing I'm reading that comment, we do not strip search those kids. That is illegal. That is illegal. We do a professional pat down after
Hmm.
they come through the metal detector if they show signs that they are not cleared through the machine. But we do not strip search. But that's one of the main things that we I know every single student that walks through the door's name, first and last. I know your siblings. I know everything about you. So when you come in, you don't even feel like you're being searched. You think you're just talking to family, and you don't even realize that we're doing this intense search of your bag. You don't realize that when we give you a hug, and we're checking your energy. If
Right,
I know every you come in and you smile, and this particular day you come in and you're not smiling, and I say, "Hey, good morning, give me a hug." I'm still checking you at that moment. I haven't let my guard down, but I'm
right.
trying to gauge where you're at so that I know that moving forward, when I go to, I'm sorry, let me get my charger. When I go to check you, pat you down, or anything like that, um, I can gauge, are you going to give me an attitude and pushback? Am I
Mhm.
becoming a trigger for you? And do I need to step back and tap out and have somebody else deal with it?
Yeah. Now that's one of the things that I was speaking to. Gosh, I can't tell you what his position is, but it was a police officer in
Mhm.
my area. My kids' school had mandatory driving school, and they made the parents mandatory attend this
Right.
driving session that was given by the police department in our area. And so a part of that this officer had worked in this area for, I don't know, 30 years or something of such. And he was telling us a story about students that actually attended that particular school and had a really bad car accident. And they
Mhm.
were actually adults that was in the audience that actually was in attendance at the high school at that time when that happened. So it was kind of amazing to see the sense of community
Mhm.
there. And he actually noticed certain people. He was pointing people out. Hey, I remember you from going to this school
Right.
because this has been my school, a place where I worked for however many years, and I remember you. Oh, I remember you. He even knew people by their names. And this is a police officer that
Right.
normally stationed at the school. And so him being relatable like that just speaks volumes for the fact of building that sense of community. There's a certain level of trust that needs to happen.
And
So that's pretty good.
with the school having older students, what I've found to help us, like you said, building that community is when the students enjoy us, when they come in, they check their parents as well. So a
Mm,
lot of the parents are coming in with an attitude like, "Oh, I'm not about to do this." The kid, when they see their child is comfortable with us, they don't give us that pushback. But if they see
right.
their child has a problem with us, then that's when they have the problem with us.
That makes
So
a lot of sense.
that's why
Wow.
then we build that comfort with them. We build that relationship with them because like I said, I want them to feel safe when they come in our building. And when you feel
Hmm.
safe when you come in the building, you don't feel the need to try to fight or disrespect or do other things.
Hmm.
You might
Mm,
do it outside the building, but when you come in the building, you know this is a safe place. And you see, we're making it safe for you. So what do you tend to do in return? I'm gonna make
yeah.
it safe for you. I'm gonna be respectful of you and I'll fight outside the building. Not saying I
Right.
want them to fight at all, but I
Hmm.
will take my issue outside. I'll wait just because I have respect for you.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious. This was also brought into attention to me before about the idea of schools that maybe didn't have or don't have security guards like your school has. What is your thoughts about having parents take turn to like guard this school, if you will?
I think if we had that, we'd really have to have parents who are level minded and neutral. And that's one of the hard things. It's hard because sometimes you'll forget that your child is a student there and somebody mess with your child. Now you don't put too many emotions into it.
That's true. That's true.
It ugh.
Hmm. So somebody said the question is, does the teacher have your same energy?
So surprisingly, you want me to tell you the truth about that? At the
Yeah.
location that I'm at, a lot of people are trying to buy our school's business motto, which is leading with love. So like everybody, our school doesn't have a high turnover rate. A lot
Hmm.
of people come to our school and want to work at our school because we're very inviting. Our teams are, when I say we're close, we're close.
That's great. That's
Everybody,
great.
everybody, and we have. When I say we have some of the roughest kids, technically our school is considered an alternative school. And you have the pipeline to prison. Our school is in reverse because our
Hmm.
brand is actually in the jails and the different things in the community and in the
Hmm.
neighborhood. So, and we have at least 90% of IEP rate in our school. 90% of our students have an IEP. IEP
Hmm.
doesn't just mean things like autism or those basic disabilities. That means behavioral issues, different things like that. And so, um, with that being said, that's why we focus. That's why we focus so much on all the trainings that we do have.
Hmm.
Because, like I said, it's not a one size fit all type of
No.
situation. So if you have plenty of trainings and you have enough different things to help you manage the kids or enough people with different perspectives to help manage these kids, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I might be good at talking to these particular group of people, but another officer might be better at talking to another particular group. But because we both have the same training, we both can talk to those two separate groups. We can switch off if we need to, but still provide the same type of I guess response.
Hmm.
Because
That
sometimes
makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, you could relay the same message, but maybe
Right.
doing it
Just
in a
in
different
my
way.
way, in their
Yeah,
way. Hmm.
yeah. Well, hola, Juan. Thank you for joining. And DMV Renovation said, how much? Sign these kids up.
Listen, it's free. If you live in DC, you all you have to do is go to my DC lottery and then you enroll your child.
So that's one of the things I think that's so awesome because I mean I'm a product of DC public schools and I can tell you it was a bit rough. So to see what these charter schools are going through and what they're doing, I am impressed. I am really impressed and love it. And I've been speaking to other charter schools to kind of see how things are with just the education point or even the security point of things, and it's so much, it's really different, and I really love that approach. And it does seem like, teaching and leading with love is a big benefit. It goes back to that golden rule that at least I know my generation was raised with, the golden rule of, treat others the way you want to be treated. So and it just kind of goes back to that, and I think it's contagious, if you will. If you guys are giving love to the kids, they don't have no choice but to give love back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people that and even when they don't give us love, I I know how to, and I think this comes with because I'm a mom too. I know how to be authoritative but loving at the same time.
Right,
I'm
right.
gonna tell you about yourself. I'm gonna tell you what you need to do, and then after I'm done, I'm gonna say, "Come over here and give me a hug. You can be
Mhm.
mad today, but we're gonna work on it tomorrow." And a lot
Right,
of
right.
kids, they're upset, but they're receptive. They can't do anything but respect it. And no, we don't tase people kids. We don't tase kids. We actually don't even carry weapons because, again, those are liabilities. The insurance for
Right.
that. We have 10 guards at least $1 million a piece if you have a weapon within a school.
Mhm.
So no, we don't.
Yeah.
Oh, they ask
So,
the parents. Yes, we do talk to the parents. We talk with our school because everybody has to check in through security.
mhm,
Every parent that enters through the door, we talk to them. We reach out to them. Our school actually has a lot of parent events. So, like, they'll do parent night bingos, they'll do parent dinners. We have a community eats program where the parents can come and pick up bags of food. Every year we do the African American History Museum just for parents that is completely paid for the school that by the school that includes transportation, the food, the drinks, the daily activities.
mhm.
That's the main thing that we're working on this year that I've seen from our principal is reach out to the parents and make the parents feel included.
Mm. So if you had to give any oh, where is this again? Okay. Well, we can't, because of
Okay.
safety reasons, we're not going to disclose the specific school in which she goes to, but just think of DC chartered schools, and it may be along the lines of that same thing that we're teaching from right now. Okay. You said they're in Texas. Our teachers about to have guns here. Yes, I've definitely heard about that in Texas, that it has been already implemented in some places about teachers having guns. Um, I mean, the only way I can see something like that working, if you will, is if they have select people. They're mandated to do certain training, every, like, quarterly, even, and that they're obviously concealed, and like no one else knows that they are the designated
That
person.
I was going to say that. And
Yeah,
then also just carrying a gun. People don't understand the emotions that you have to be able to control carrying a weapon.
yeah, yeah. We always say here at Trouble Defense, coming from my husband's thought process, is you become Mr. or Mrs. Friendly when you
Mhm.
have a gun. You have to, because realistically, you have to maintain control over your emotions, or else things are going to go south real quick, real quick.
I
Um,
mean, just imagine you're teaching all day and you're trying to tell a student they keep talking, 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 and you're frustrated. Do you really
mhm.
want to add a gun to that situation?
Right. Not to mention your own personal life. I mean,
And
who's
and
sitting
that's what I was
at
going to say.
work and
Your
had a
child
good day?
stayed up all night or something, and you coming in and like, yeah, no, mm-mm.
When it comes to even the situation where the Georgia case, where the 14-year-old came into the school and killed two teachers, or unalived two teachers, and
Mhm.
unalived two students, and injured nine others just a few days ago. When it comes to that situation, it's more evidence is coming out about this case, and it seems that the dad was doing his part in educating his son about firearm safety and awareness and how to use it. He had actually began training him on how to hunt deer. And so that became like a sport outing, because his thought process was get him away from the video games, get him more active in being in outdoor sports. Um, but there has to be some sort of balance, because he also was aware that his son actually was possibly or allegedly involved in another situation just a few years ago, where his son's account had to be actually deleted, because on, what is it, Discord account.
Mhm.
I'm not familiar with that social media platform, but his son was on Discord and he was leaving some serious comments about committing mass shooting in his school, and how he had to wait 2 to 3 years from now, because right now what statement would he be making if he basically killed himself at this time. That's what he was basically making these comments, putting pictures about how he got these guns and now he's ready. And this all happened around May of 2023, and here it is, December of 2024. His dad is buying an AR style rifle for his son, and as a Christmas gift. And I just thought it's one of those things where us as parents, we have to take responsibility for knowing our child and knowing when is it appropriate to introduce things to them and when is it not. And in this case, I think majority of us here can actually agree that knowing that information about your son might have been a perfect opportunity to say, I don't think I'm going to have any guns in my house, regardless if I want to have it for myself. I think majority of us may even agree with that. What do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like he should have given, knowing that information about this son having this Discord account and making these statements? Do you guys believe that the dad should have just taken all the guns out of the house, or do you think he should have left them there? I'm just really curious of what you guys think about that. So, um, let's see. So to end this, or to wrap this up, I do want to ask you, as a professional, what are some of the things that you wish more parents would do to support the staff for safety measures?
I think some of the things that parents should do is really invest in their children. And I think investing in the time to really teach each individual child.
Hmm.
Because, for example, all three of my children, they're raised by me and their dad and their stepdad. Same exact people. We all give the same lessons, but they all interpret it differently. So I
Right.
have to parent them differently within the home.
Hmm.
Sometimes one of my kids saying nothing is wrong may be something wrong with the other one. One can say, "Oh, hey, mommy, how are you?" If I know that's not her normal thing at a certain time and she's coming to say, "How are you?" that means to me, "Oh, something's wrong. What's wrong? Do you need to talk? Do we need to have a discussion?" I think a
Right.
lot of parents really have to take the time and stop just categorizing the kids as one person and really individually just learning their children and knowing what makes sense for them and what doesn't.
That's
So
correct. Yeah.
you were speaking about the dad. Oh, well, I want to get him off the games. Okay, so we can get him off the games. There were plenty of options to get him off the games. Why
Hmm.
would showing him how to properly use a firearm be the first thing that you go to when this child is saying they're struggling mentally and want to commit this type of act?
Right. Right.
Right then and there, it shouldn't have been, oh, well, we're going to find something else to go do in the woods. It should have been, why do you feel that way?
Hmm.
Why is that something you want to move into and why is that something you want to take on?
Yeah. 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 That's really unfortunate that that was his thought process.
Issues with
And
that.
obviously the case is still being investigated. More evidence is coming out about that, but that's just the most up to date information I had on that case. Um, so let's see what this other statement said. The issue is we need the teachers to help, most coming from the single parent home. We need all the help raise our youth. Okay, that's true. And I think when it comes to helping our kids, working together as a community to raise our kids, I feel like it's reciprocal on both ends. If you show up, I'm a firm believer that if you show up at those school activities, if you
Mhm.
send an email here and there to just check in on your kid to the teacher, that goes a long way to that teacher to know that this parent cares about their kid, and I'm going to be reciprocal to that, and I'm going to send messages back to that parent about their kid. I'm going to invite that parent. I'm expecting to see that parent when there are activities at the school, and so that will help that teacher be more on board with helping you with your kid.
Right.
So, and I feel the same way, even, just to give an example, compare, I feel the same way about in the hospital. I won't let a loved one be in the hospital without me or my family, my mom's side, we take turns visiting our family member that's in the hospital because we understand that the staff is going to really pay our loved one attention when we're in our absence, and they know that one of us going to be right around the corner to be checking
Yep.
on them soon. So just keeping that same thought process, applying that to the school and communicating with your kids' teachers is extremely important. And then just even that much more of the administrative staff and the security guards. When you go to the school, greet them, talk to them, get to know them because they are ultimately, around your kids when you are not. And they know things about your kids. So they're going to look out for your kids in your absence, especially if they get to know you. So realistically, we got to show up in that way as well.
And I think with raising them, we also have to be more understanding and be
Yeah.
open minded as far as not thinking from a personal aspect. Well, I need this done for my student. When you go into the building, like stop and think, okay, maybe why is this? Why are they doing this? Why do this school have metal detectors? Or why do think of the broader picture?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, again, we're stuck in our own experience in our own way that
Right.
we're thinking, well, my student don't even drink. So why can't he have a water bottle that he wants to have? He
Right.
poured the juice from the house. And it's like, okay, your student doesn't drink, but what about the one who does drink? Because he
Right.
doesn't have parents that are there to be supportive and tell him, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And now because he drinks, he brings the drinks and give it to your child. Now you're yelling, where's security at when they was drinking?
You're right.
You know, we can't
Yeah.
be everywhere at once. Nobody can be everywhere at once.
Right. Well, I'm really curious. Our audience has taken the time to listen to us break things down and give this perspective and this thought process. I'm asking you guys now, what do you think? Do you believe that security officers should be armed in the school, or should they not be armed in the school? So I'm really curious what you guys' thought process is because realistically, them being armed in school has some pros. Them being armed in school is some negatives as well. So it's one of those things where it makes for a good argument one way or another. Um, and I just feel like, we should definitely weigh our options on which one. So far, I have one saying that they believe that the officers should be armed. So come on, don't be shy. We need your input. This is a community discussion, and no answer is a wrong answer. So I'm just really curious on what you guys feel like. No gun in the schools ever. Okay, all right. So one armed and one unarmed. I'm really curious because it's one of those things where you one statement before said these kids act real different and they know the guards got firearms on them. That's one
But
thing.
it depends on your student because now it's
Yeah,
will say, "Oh, you got a gun? Okay,
yeah.
cool. I got a gun too." So now where do we go from there? And I think too that comes from again perspective. We have parents that now think that their students are equal to us as well.
Mhm.
So
That's
like
true.
when we bring up the phone situation, a
Mhm.
parent would say, "Well, if my student can't have a phone, the teachers don't need to have a phone too." But the difference is your student is here to learn. I got my degree. I'm here to work.
Mhm.
So why do you feel like we're on the same playing field in this environment?
Right. Right. Well, I really appreciate you guys' input too. I have some people that saying they agree that they should be armed. Some said they should not be armed. Some says they don't know. And then another valid point was depends on the area. Okay, that's another valid point. I think. You
But
know.
really depend on the area though, because like where we're at, I'm in the inner city, but where
Mhm.
the mass shootings have been happening have been in these small towns, these rural areas.
Excellent point.
So how do you make the decision
Excellent point.
who's the person that's going to have a gun?
Yeah. I actually looked at some statistical data earlier today, and there's a map that they showed of school shootings. And this was on CNN website. I wish I can show you guys, but it showed some southern states that was like near Louisiana, Mississippi, in that area. That's where they had majority of the school shootings since the year 2023. I think. I'm sorry, 20. I'm sorry, 2003. I believe it was since then to now, those states had majority of the school shootings. And I was like, wow, very interesting to say the least.
Like Mike Hector just said, urban areas are bad, but how many school shootings have we had in the urban area
Right,
that are
right.
actually mass shootings?
hmm And majority of the time when you have urban areas, from my understanding, is more so a specific person that
Right.
someone's trying to get versus just whoever's crossing the street, whoever is crossing the threshold of being in the school. So yeah, that definitely the mindset is very different depending on the area. And that is a good question, whether or not that's a factor to consider. And I think it is. But realistically, area might not make too much of a way here when we break it down like that. Because realistically, it just put more people in danger. It just does. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. This wraps up our conversation on whether or not security officers in schools should be armed or not. And and while I'm here to facilitate this conversation amongst our community, I just want you guys to know I really appreciate you guys. And your views are so important to me. So as you guys leave comments, it really brightens up my day to know that you guys are engaged in this conversation and that you really do care enough to have this conversation with us, because realistically it takes a community to raise a child, regardless of what people may believe. Some people believe that just the parents need the parent, but realistically we all actually reach out and help each other's children on a day-to-day basis, especially if you work in a school, for example, or you work in any field that encounters with children. So it all really matters, and how we facilitate through life is extremely important. So I do want to leave you guys with the thought process of starting in your own home. Really assess your child, know what is right for them and what is wrong for them, and be honest with yourself about it. I mean, that's the one biggest thing I think parents kind of sometimes mess up on. We don't want to admit when there is something wrong with our child, quote unquote. Nobody's perfect, all of us go through things, but what I will encourage you guys to do is notice those signs, address those signs. Don't try to sweep it under the rug, no matter how embarrassed you are. Deal with it. Because if not, you may ultimately have a child that ends up in a situation like this young man, 14-year-old, shoots his teachers, shoots the students. And that's just not the right answer. We cannot sweep things under the rug. Not saying that that's what that parent did. And again, my heart goes out to all those victims that experience that traumatic experience and their families. And I really pray that as a community, as the whole United States, we make some better decisions within our household, within our communities. That's just going to do much better for our children as they grow up. So, and definitely congratulations on the baby. I
Thank
see
you.
baby patients
I-
congratulate you again. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Stay tuned to more lives that we'll be doing on Friday evenings at 8. And then also, I do have another video coming out soon with a long interview that you guys are going to really love. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already so you can see the notice when I post that video here in the next couple of days. And I'm really proud of you guys. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this, honestly. And thank you, Miss Ashley, for joining us too. You
and
are great.
you and I hope you invite me some other time to have more discussions.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I'm working on it. These wheels is turning upstairs. I'm thinking about some things as we were talking about some more things here.
Okay. I'll
All
be
right.
waiting.
And thank you guys so much. Y'all have a good night.